Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Todd Rodden. I'm a certified business and executive coach with Aspire Action Coach based here in the Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio areas. Today, I think you're going to love this message from Dr. Bryant about her story as an entrepreneur, but also who's deeply passionate about what her and her business, Hello Mental Health, provides to patients throughout this region, vital mental health services and support. You're new to the series, we're glad to have you join us. We encourage you to hit the subscribe button so you can receive future messages like the message you're going to hear from Dr. Bryant today. So without further ado, Dr. Bailey Bryant of Hello Mental Health, welcome to the Spotlight series. Take a second if you could and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business and how did you get started in mental health and why?
Oh my gosh, you teed me up with a loaded question. Um, so I'm Bailey Bryant. I have been an entrepreneur probably since birth, but officially since 2016, which is when I started Hello Mental Health. But as a little kid, I was the one that had the friendship bracelet stand and the dog sitting business. And then when I got a little older, I played soccer throughout my whole life. So I would have a little soccer private training business. So I've been entrepreneurial from the jump. And I never actually thought that my career would be in running a small business. But when I look back, it's the only thing that makes sense. So, yeah, started as a solo practice. We are now a group practice. I'm surrounded by incredible people, and, we're just out here changing lives.
So I'm curious in terms of your client base, who are your kind of ideal customers and how has that changed over time?
So, right now we have 5 clinical psychologists on staff, and we each have our own expertise. Some of the overlaps, we all work with adults doing individual therapy. Some of us specialize more in mood disorders, whereas others more in trauma, relationship issues, or neurodivergence. More recently, we added on our newest psychologist who does cognitive testing. So think ADHD, and she also does adult autism evals. And now we are seeing teens. So we serve a wide variety of people, but really anybody who is ready to seriously work on their own mental health, we're here for those folks.
And I think we were chatting before we started the video here that also really growing efforts like working with corporate partners and information in the workplace as well.
Yeah, that's one of our newest expansions. So I'd say in the past year and a half, that's really been picking up speed because so many corporations are realizing that you have to prioritize employee mental health. We spend so much more time at work than we do at home. And a happy, well-adjusted employee is, of course, more productive. Not that that's the ultimate, thing that we're looking for, but we have to take care of our people's mental health. And yeah, it's been a real pleasure. We've worked with some pretty large companies talking about burnout, stress management, trauma. Uh, it's been an exciting iteration in our company.
Well, yeah, that's good. That's it's good to hear. If you look over the last years, if you go back years ago, there was kind of a stigma, unfortunately, around this. But there's more of an openness. And I think since COVID, people are more open and transparent around mental health challenges and the importance of seeking help and guidance, right, with those challenges.
Yeah, 100%. I think therapy is finally becoming cool and a thing that you can actually talk about around the dinner table. So that's really exciting to see as a provider because when I first started, it was a bit more stigmatized, but now like my friends and I will talk to each other about what our therapist said. And
So, kind of building upon that, what as you've built your practice, you said you're now up to 5 clinical psychologists on staff. How do you think you separate yourself from the other providers out there?
yeah, so one of the things that separates us, it's pretty rare to have that many psychologists on staff. Everybody's a doctoral level provider, everybody's got a lot of experience. So that is more rare to see that many of us concentrated in one place. Also, the way that we treat our staff, this industry is so relentless with burnout because a lot of larger companies, productivity is the name of the game. You crank out sessions, you keep high caseloads. But in our job, our biggest tool is ourselves. So if we are burnt out, we're delivering substandard care, people are getting substandard results, whereas the productivity expectations are super manageable. Most of our people only work 4 days a week, not only, but 4 days a week, which is easier to be a balanced human when you're not cranking out so many hours. And we just wrap people with a lot of support, a lot of love. So our providers are happy and well, so they deliver great care.
So, so clearly, building the right support structures, the right culture uh, within the workplace, comes down to the leader setting the right tone and the right direction. So I'm curious, how have you then evolved as a leader over time and some of your learnings around building that team?
That's kind of hard to summarize. I've grown tremendously as a leader, a lot of times through making mistakes. Like I'm definitely one of these people that has to learn the hard way. But I think the biggest learning that I've really kind of clarified lately is how important it is to keep your priorities in order. So in my field, a lot of us who run practices are people with enormous hearts. We want to save the world and put everybody in front of us. And to a degree, that's helpful and important. But one of my biggest learnings was that for a little too long, I would put employees first, the company as a whole second, and myself third. And that sounds right-ish, except when I put my employees before the health of the company as a whole, ran into some tight financial times because I was giving more than the company could sustainably give. So then had to make some really hard adjustments, which I think a lot of small business owners have run into that problem of overextending their cash a little bit. And then when putting myself last, that it got to be really tight and really painful. What I've learned instead is the appropriate order, at least in my brain. The company as a whole has to come first. So if the structures are not there, if the safety nets are not there, the standard operating procedures, all that stuff, if the company as a whole is not operating smoothly and stably, well, the employees are not going to have a good place to work, so they're going to suffer. I'm going to be putting out fires all day, every day, so I'm going to suffer. But when I switched up the order, that first the company as a whole, then the employees, and then me, everything clicked. And it made it so much easier to make business decisions, even the painful ones. And when I took good care of the company and the employees had a good place to work and were getting paid well, the owner's going to naturally benefit because you got happy people, you've got good cash flow, life is good. But for too long, I had that out of order.
So how did you, oh, that's great. I love that, right? How did you make that change? I'm curious, what were the keys to making that pivot, to putting the right structures and procedures and that in place?
Yeah, so a lot of it was kind of challenging some of my beliefs about business. So I remember when I first started out as a solo practice owner, I said, I never want to have employees and I never want to have a manual. Like never any processes or procedures, like, ooh, gross, I don't want that. Uh, Kind of averse to numbers, I just kind of trust it. If you build it, it will come, the money will be fine. And then I reached one of those points where like, oh, so this is why you monitor stuff. And this is why you need a manual. And this is why you need processes and procedures. So having some of those moments of like, okay, so I cannot throw out like every business idea that has come before me and think that I'm just going to recreate something brand new that no one's ever seen. I'm going to take the good, which is like structure and metrics, but I'm going to keep the stuff that we already had in place, which is the compassion and the flexibility and the putting people first. So a lot of it though was building those like boring things like a manual and like these meetings with agendas and like a dashboard where we track things, that ended up actually being very helpful.
Yeah. So that realization that wasn't an or, it was an and. It wasn't going to be one or the other. It's going to be both combined to
100%.
drive the success, right? So. Oh, great. Well, obviously some excellent success. You've been able to grow from being solo to now having a team of five.
Mhm.
Um, what have been the key strategies then for driving that growth in your customer base to get to that level? You know, key marketing strategies or other ways of acquiring customers.
Yeah, so we've grown pretty incrementally. So one new clinician at a time. Every time we have somebody new on board, we really do a heavy marketing push. So we put a lot of time and effort into crafting their bio and their niche, and then just getting it out in the world. Newsletter, Google Ads have definitely been our friend. We use social media, a decent amount of in-person networking, and then also hosting free webinars. That's been pretty good for us to just get in front of new faces or even familiar faces and just remind them what our expertise is. We've
Mhm.
relied on that more over the past year or so, and it's served us pretty well.
Have you been able to build like good strategic referral partners who provide you a regular flow of potential customers?
Yeah, so we do have a couple of formal marketing partnerships. We have one with Anchor Wellness Center and then one with the Anderson Clinic, who we have a partnership with doing ketamine assisted psychotherapy. That's been a great partnership because they also do medication management. So we've been able to refer patients back and forth and work more like a treatment team.
Mhm.
And then sometimes our current clients, providers, like their psychiatrists, they'll hear from their client, like, hey, I love my psychologist over here. And then before you know it, they start sending more patients, which is always the best.
Okay, so that's so you said you were almost an entrepreneur from birth, right? The any entrepreneur has some hills, some valleys, some twists and turns. So I'm curious, what's been a past challenge that jumps out at you that you had to overcome, and what did you learn going through that process?
Again, there's so many. So I think people who are not entrepreneurs maybe see those who are and think, oh my gosh, they found their one thing and it worked. And didn't realize that probably for most of us, the vast majority of the stuff that we try fails pretty miserably. But you just need one or two thing to hit. Um, so little stumbling blocks. Like I can't tell you the number of groups we've tried to get off the ground that haven't worked out, or new services that we've tried to launch that the market just was not ready for. The biggest one, so in I think it was early 2020, it might have been late 2019. I started a software company. It was a healthcare technology startup. And it was one of these, brilliant ideas. I was on a walk one day and it kind of hit me like a bolt of lightning that so many people are out there looking for therapists, but it is incredibly hard to sift through all the websites and all the online directories and figure out who's a good fit for me. What do all these acronyms mean? So my brilliant idea was to create an algorithm that matched people with therapists that were a good fit, using my insider knowledge. And I naively thought that this is something that I could pull together with maybe a few $100 and a little bit of elbow grease. And it turned into this 3-year long venture of, getting a technical co-founder and hiring software developers and getting grants and going through accelerator programs before we finally reached the end of our runway. Um, the company was called Health Match 360. So rest in peace, Health Match.
Okay.
But that was, I consider it like getting an MBA out on the streets. I learned so much about business, just marketing, finance, projecting in the future, pitching to investors. That was
Yeah.
terrifying. But it made me a lot bolder when I stepped back in and put all my energy into Hello Mental Health. I had such a public like falling on my face that there's really nothing to be scared of after that.
Yeah, I mean that didn't kill you, so well, bring on the next thing, right?
Yeah,
That's good.
just
I
pivot.
love it. So with that same kind of mindset, as you look forward here in 2025, what's the challenge you have in front of you that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so right now we're really trying to figure out what direction we want to grow. Not really sure what the market's going to look like. So our business is primarily self-pay. So when people's disposable income gets tight, sometimes therapy is the thing that people cut, which I hope not, but also I understand, people have to take care of their financial health. So really trying to figure out, is our next move to grow into a new service area? We love working with psychedelics. Ketamine assisted psychotherapy has been really exciting. So maybe considering bringing that in-house, maybe adding some additional testing services or services for children or older adults. So we're really considering what all of our options are now, but it's definitely to grow.
Okay, great. Love it. You already talked a little bit about your team and your keys to driving growth and building the culture there. What have been your keys to finding talented psychologists, right? Kind of unique skill set, right? You got to have the right match for you. What have been your keys there?
Um, just putting out the vibe. So almost everybody on our team is somebody that I went to school with or worked with in a previous environment. So most of them have kind of like fallen in my lap, just good people that I met before who are like, hey, I want to come be a part of this. I don't know that that strategy could work forever, maybe, but it's been really organic. Just good people find us, and yeah, we've created something pretty special that way.
So you mentioned, hey, right now you're trying to figure out kind of the next growth strategies, different services to potentially add or not, kind of things. But what's your vision longer term? You think, 5, 10 years down the road, what's your dream for where you want uh, the business to be?
Yeah, I want our growth to be more deep than wide. So I don't envision something with hundreds of employees and lots of locations. I envision more of one location, um, maybe not more than 10 to 15 staff, but where we can treat more of the whole person, have a really strong treatment team approach. I envision us doing more education for the community, maybe becoming a continuing education sponsor, but really just depth.
That's good. And I love that the whole person, treating the whole person, right? That's a great spirit, great heart to that. So I'm curious, you already talked a little bit some of your leadership styles. What have been some of your other keys to leading the team?
Ooh, some of the growth edges have been learning to have those really hard conversations. Because I want to be a little conflict avoidant, but in this role, you can't really avoid those tough conversations. So that's been a big growth edge for me, is to be able to say the hard thing or to be able to take the hard feedback and not let my ego get too involved. I think that's probably one of the toughest things as a business owner, is trying to keep your ego in check and not do things because it will look good or feel exciting or, you know, shake up your day, but because it's in the best interest of your staff and in the best interest of your company. I think I lost track of the original question.
Yeah, just what have been your keys to leading that team? And I think what I heard were great messages around keeping your ego in check. Um, you know, learn to have that tough conversation. It's so easy to avoid those, right?
Yeah.
And also yourself, be open to receiving that tough but necessary feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my leadership style is a lot similar to when I played soccer, my on the field style. I was always a central defender, but generally like team captain. So I like being the captain of the team, but definitely a member of the team. But I see my place as being in the back and looking forward and kind of putting other people front and center, making sure they get the glory, they get the attention, just kind of taking care of things behind the scene.
Yeah. Any other learnings from the athletic field, from the pitch, that you think you've brought with you to business leadership as well?
Oh my gosh, I'm sure. Probably trying to balance competitiveness and collaboration. I think there's a competitive streak inside me that wants to like be the best. But at least in the Cincinnati area, the therapist world is so collaborative, so supportive. And so it's really realizing like who's on your team, who you're trying to take care of, versus who you're competing against. So now the competing against is like stress and mental illness and systemic pressures and
Yeah.
collaboration of the people. Yeah.
So true.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, you're passionate about what you do. You seem like you're probably a passionate learner as well. So any books that have been influential or a podcast or any other kind of leadership individual that comes to mind?
Oof. Okay, so books right now, I'm going through Genesis, Henry Kissinger. It's about AI because AI just absolutely fascinates me. Oh, podcasts, the telepathy tapes. If you haven't listened to it, is just it will blow your mind. So the premise of that is doing studies with people with nonverbal autism and finding that they're incredibly telepathic, which sounds wild, but when you listen to it, you're like, oh my gosh, is our understanding of humanity and the brain and everything completely wrong? So that gets my brain excited.
Great. I'll have to check that one out. That sounds very intriguing. All right.
It's
Very,
pretty
very
cool.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we look to wrap up, our time goes very quickly in these discussions. What are the best ways for folks to stay connected with you and also to follow Hello Mental Health?
Yeah, so our website is a great place. If you go to our website, hellomentalhealth.com, if you hang out like 30 seconds, there will be a pop-up. You fill that out, it'll get you on our email list. You can also follow us on Instagram, hello.mentalhealth, or Facebook, Hello Mental Health Cincy with a Y.
Encourage folks to check those out, right? I think also you had some references on your website around, the apps that folks could download and take with them as well. So Dr. Bryant, as we look to wrap up here today, what are you inspired by today?
I'd say my clients. A lot of people are going through a really rough time right now, and just their perseverance blows me away. But also how when people are in the midst of their struggles, how they still tend to have such a heart for other people. Honestly, I feel like I learn more from them than they do from me sometimes.
Love that, right? Really love that. So. Well, Dr. Bryant, thank you for sharing your story and the Hello Mental Health story as well. Again, encourage our listeners to go check them out on their social media pages as well as on the website. Just deep passion for what you're doing and obviously even more great service to the community and patients in the region as well with your growth plan. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So again, for our viewers, thank you for joining us today. I hope you took a lot of good notes here, a lot around a lifelong entrepreneur, taking her passion, serving others, but growing a healthy business and a healthy team along with it as well. So thank you for joining us. Again, we encourage you to hit the like button on this episode, but also subscribe to receive future messages like you heard from Dr. Brian today as well. And with that, hope you all have a terrific day. Thank you.